He was not supposed to be on that floor. He worked mornings. Fix what is broken, keep your head down, go home to your kid. That was the whole plan. That had been the whole plan for 3 years, ever since his wife passed, and the world went very quiet, and he discovered that the best way to survive grief was to stay busy and stay small. Big ambitions require a certain kind of hope, and hope had started to feel like something that belonged to a different version of his life. The version that ended in a hospital corridor at 2 in the morning, while a doctor spoke in careful, measured sentences. His daughter was 9. She liked drawing animals on post-it notes and sneaking them into his work bag before he left in the morning. He would find them later: a giraffe with an impossibly long neck, a dog with too many legs, a cat that looked more like a potato wearing ears. He always put them in his shirt pocket without saying anything about it. That was their thing, no words needed. Some things between a father and a child don't need explaining. The repair order that morning said Suite 1200, broken ceiling tile, water stain, possible slow leak from the floor above. Simple job. He had done it maybe 100 times in that building alone. He took the service elevator to the 12th floor, turned left instead of right out of old habit. The maintenance corridor usually branched left, and opened the door at the end of the hallway. The room was glass and light and very quiet for about half a second. Then it was not quiet anymore, because 12 people in suits turned to look at him at the same time, and there is a particular kind of silence that happens when a room full of executives all stop mid-thought simultaneously. He stood there in his work uniform, toolbox in his right hand, standing at what was very clearly the front of a very large and very serious meeting. A presentation was frozen on the screen behind the woman at the head of the table. Someone had been mid-sentence. He almost backed out. His hand was still on the door handle. The polite move was to say sorry and disappear, and he had done that exact move so many times in that building that it was practically a reflex. Wrong floor, wrong room, wrong moment. Ghost himself out before anyone had to acknowledge it. But the woman at the head of the table said, "Wait." Just that one word. Not unkind, not impatient. It sounded less like a command and more like a decision. The kind made quickly and without hesitation by someone who had spent years making decisions and had gotten good at knowing which ones mattered. He waited. He stood there not entirely sure what he was waiting for. His eyes drifted past the 12 faces, all looking at him with that careful, neutral expression people wear when they are trying not to seem curious, and landed on the wall behind the CEO's left shoulder. There was a large printed diagram there, the building's structural floor plan, marked up in red and blue pen, with proposed renovation changes. He could read a floor plan the way other people read a menu. He had been reading this building's bones for 2 years. He saw the problem almost immediately. The marked column on the east wing. "You work in building maintenance?" the woman asked. He nodded. He found his voice. "Yes. Going on 2 years." She studied him for a moment, in that direct, unhurried way some people have. Not rude, just honest. Then she turned slightly in her chair and pointed at the diagram on the wall. "We have a proposal to remove that support column on the east side," she said. "Open up the floor plan. Create a more open workspace. The contractors say it's structurally straightforward." She paused. "You've worked in this building 2 years. What do you think?" The room had the specific quality of silence that 12 people create when they are all pretending not to hold their breath. He set his toolbox down, not because he planned to stay, just because he needed both hands to think properly, and he had always been the kind of person who thought better when he was not holding something. He looked at the diagram. He looked at the notations. He looked at where the proposed removal was marked. "No," he said, "I wouldn't do it. Not without proper transfer beams, and even then, I'd want a second opinion from a structural engineer who's been inside the actual walls, not just read the plans." A small shift in the room. Not hostile, more like attention sharpening. "That column carries load from 3 floors above it," he continued. "The floor plan shows it as non-essential. But I crawled through that section about 6 months ago, chasing a plumbing issue, and the framing back there is different from what the drawings say. That section was modified in 2019, and I'm not sure the updated structural drawings got filed into the main records. What you're looking at might be out of date." The CEO's expression did not change, exactly, but something behind her eyes did. "How do you know about the 2019 modification?" "I found it by accident," he said. "Filed a note to my supervisor about the discrepancy. I don't know what happened with it after that." She turned to the man seated to her immediate left. Someone in a suit that probably cost more than a month of his salary, who had the careful expression of a person absorbing a quiet correction in front of an audience. Pull the 2019 structural records before our next session, she said. We're pausing the column removal until we can verify current load data against what's actually in the walls. She said it matter-of-factly, the way someone says it's going to rain. Let's bring an umbrella. Not dramatic. Just correct. She looked back at the door. At him. Thank you, she said. What's your name? He told her. She said it back to him once, quietly, as if she was filing it somewhere. Thank you, she said again, and this time the word had a different weight to it, like it was carrying something extra. Not gratitude exactly, more like recognition. He nodded, picked up his toolbox, found the right room, Suite 1202, 2 doors the other direction, and fixed the ceiling tile. It took about 20 minutes. He did it entirely on muscle memory, because his brain was not really there. It was back in that glass room, replaying the moment the CEO had asked his opinion in front of 12 people, and then acted on it, unhesitatingly, in front of those same 12 people. He had not felt that way in a long time, like what he knew was worth something, like he was worth asking. He ate lunch on the loading dock like he always did. A half sandwich, a thermos of coffee, a view of the parking structure. The same pigeon that had been stealing unattended food off that dock for apparently years was there again, eyeing a bag of chips someone had left on a crate. He watched it for a while. He was not sure why he felt the strange, low hum of something settling into place inside him. He didn't chase the feeling, he just let it sit there. 3 days later, there was an envelope on his workstation, sealed. His name written on the front in actual handwriting, not a printed label, not an automated sticker, but someone's actual hand, taking actual time. He held it for a moment before opening it. His first thought, honestly, was that it was a complaint. Some executive on the 12th floor had not appreciated an uninvited maintenance worker weighing in on a structural decision. It would not be the strangest thing that had happened to him at a job. He opened it. The letter was from the CEO herself. Half a page, direct and warm in equal measure. She wrote that the company's facilities management had been operating without a proper internal advisor, someone who actually knew the building's history from the inside. Outside consultants had been brought in to fill that gap, consultants who were experienced and credentialed, but who had never once put their hands on the actual building. The conversation earlier that week had made something plain that she felt should have been obvious sooner. The real institutional knowledge was already inside the building, and it had been going unnoticed. She was offering him a newly created advisory role, part-time to start, 2 meetings per week, a review of all proposed structural or systems changes before sign-off, with the possibility, if he was interested, of growing into something larger over time. The last line of the letter read, "Your kind of knowledge doesn't belong only in the walls." He read it twice, set it face down, went back to his afternoon checklist, picked it up again at the end of the shift. That evening he made dinner, the simple kind, pasta and something from a jar, his daughter's current favorite, and sat across from her while she worked through a worksheet. She was drawing in the corner of the page. He could see the beginning of a tale, maybe a fox, maybe a very thin bear. He told her about the letter in the version that fit a 9-year-old. A woman at work found out that he knew something important about the building, and she wants to pay him to share that knowledge in meetings. His daughter put her pencil down. "So you'd be like an expert?" "Sort of. A small one." She thought about this. "Are you going to do it?" "I'm thinking it over." She looked at him with that particular look she had inherited from her mother, the one that said she could see exactly what he was doing, and was choosing to be patient about it. "Dad," she said. "Yeah." "Do it," he laughed, which surprised him, because he had not laughed at something small in a while. He emailed his answer the next morning. It took him 45 minutes to write 4 sentences, not because the words were hard, but because he kept writing sentences that began with, "I know I'm just," and then deleting them. He wasn't just anything. He knew that building better than the engineers who had designed the renovation proposal. He had learned it the hard way, on his hands and knees in spaces those boardroom meetings never mentioned. The 4 sentences he finally sent were simple. Grateful for the opportunity, glad to help, available to start whenever works, looking forward to it. He sent it before he could edit it again. The advisory work started small. 1 meeting a week, then 2. He looked at plans. He gave his honest read. He was sometimes wrong and said so. He was often right and let the outcomes speak for themselves without announcing anything. The column issue, when the 2019 records were finally pulled, turned out to be exactly as he had described. The contractors revised their proposal. Nobody made a ceremony out of it. He preferred it that way. His life did not become a different life. He still showed up early, still fixed things, still found small drawings in his work bag. By now she had moved on to elaborate multi-page animal comics that spilled across several post-its stuck together. He still ate lunch on the loading dock. The pigeon was a reliable constant. But something had changed in the way he moved through his days. Something that is hard to name, but immediately recognizable, if you have ever lived through a long stretch of feeling invisible. It was the difference between walking through a building where nobody sees you, and walking through the same building knowing that one person, at least, had looked you in the face and decided you were worth the attention. He had walked into the wrong room. He had not been waved out. And that one unremarkable moment, one woman, one pause, one decision to ask rather than dismiss, had been enough to shake loose something he had stopped expecting. Not a miracle, not a rescue, just a reminder that the version of his life where he was more than a man who kept the building running had not disappeared. It had been there the whole time, waiting quietly while he walked past it. That Friday, he stood in the pickup line outside his daughter's school. Same spot, same time, same mildly stressed crossing guard. The doors opened at the usual time. She came through at full speed. She always came through at full speed, like the brief period between the doors opening and finding him in the crowd required sprint conditions. He had been there every single Friday. She ran every single Friday. He had long ago stopped wondering why and started just being glad for it. She hit him hard enough to make him take one step back. He caught her. She smelled like school lunch, and the particular kind of marker that never fully washes off hands. "How was your day?" she asked, her voice slightly muffled by his jacket. "Really good," he said. He meant it completely. For the first time in a long time, that was the whole truth.